Hello friends and welcome into NFL Daily. On today's video, we're taking a look at Mel Kiper's top 2021 quarterback draft prospects. We're going to begin with number one. This really shouldn't be a huge surprise. Trevor Lawrence kicks things off here. It makes sense, right? He's got everything you could want. You guys know who Trevor Lawrence is. He's got great size, very good athlete on top of that, strong arm, super accurate, can make plays inside, outside of the pocket. When you're building an ideal quarterback, maybe the hair doesn't look like Trevor Lawrence, but a lot of the rest does look like him. Everything you're looking for. However, I think especially early last year, maybe Lawrence heard the hype. He pressed a little bit more than he needed to. Now, his total season numbers, and if you want to include his first year as well, they're really good. They're really awesome. But those first couple of games until around the second half against Louisville, he was pretty middling. There were a lot of mistakes, a lot of unforced errors, trying to fit balls into windows that really weren't there, trying to play hero. He was playing hero ball for Clemson, which I understand that. It's what he's supposed to do. Emphasis on the air quotes that you can't see. If Lawrence will just take a little bit of a step back this past year, sophomore slump if you will, I think he's going to be fine this year. But he does have competition to be quarterback one in 2021 because Justin Fields, if we are being honest and only evaluating that 2019 season, he was better than Trevor Lawrence was. He outplayed him. Fewer mistakes, more big plays, and as Ohio State fans are often pointing out to me, he didn't play a ton in the fourth quarter because they didn't need him out there. Now, I like the Ohio State offense. It is pretty favorable for a quarterback, just makes life easier on them. But he was used well by Ohio State. Unlike Georgia, which that's a whole different discussion there, but Fields was awesome last year. The efficiency was simply better. If he had played, and not that Lawrence didn't sit out some fourth quarters as well, but if he had played an entire season, you would have seen the numbers gone up in terms of the raw passing yards. But a 41-3 touchdown to interception ratio, a couple of those not coming until later on in the year, one of which was not his fault, by the way, because the receiver fell down, more or less. He was awesome last year. Lawrence can also move. We know Fields can run as well. These two have been kind of connected, joined at the hip, compared to each other since high school. That's going to be the case this year in the race for the 2020 Heisman Trophy, and it's going to be the case for the 2021 NFL Draft and throughout their NFL careers. So I assume most of you will vote for Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields with this question. Who is the top quarterback prospect for 2021? If you have other names in mind, hey, I want to hear them. Scroll down to the pinned comment because that's this question. If you get with the ad break here on YouTube, that's the perfect time to go do it. Now, number 3 on Kiper's list, the top two pretty obvious. He puts Trey Lance, and I like Kiper's decision here. Lance's numbers, we'll get to them here in just a bit, are pretty absurd. Now, he is playing at the FCS level. There aren't that many opponents that he faces that are going to be starting, let alone starting in the NFL. So there is a significant competition jump coming. Now, he's only a redshirt sophomore, but North Dakota State has produced some pretty darn good quarterbacks. Carson Wentz, of course. Easton Stick is, I don't think, anywhere near the prospect that Trey Lance could be. The big number for Lance, of course, was the touchdown to interception ratio. 28-0. Insane. It's also unsustainable. He will regress next year, but you might see the passing yardage go up. I think you'll see more throw attempts out of Trey Lance because I think NDSU knows, hey, if we can get this kid higher in the draft, that's only good for our program long term. Lance also brings you some very dynamic ability on the ground. That's a common theme with all of these top 4 prospects. They can run. And I think that's the way the NFL is trending. Not necessarily full-fledged, dual-threat, Cam Newton-level quarterbacks, but you need to have someone that's not a statue. My suspicion for this upcoming year, Trey Lance dials back the effort on the ground, increases the volume through the air. Now, we're giving you guys more NFL draft videos for 2021. You guys seem to like them. But we need to keep the numbers up. They're kind of bordering on rookie numbers right now. And that means we'll have to do other stuff instead. So if you want more 2021 draft coverage, offensive rankings, RB rankings, in a stacked receiver class, receiver rankings as well, share this video. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. Just share it for us so we can keep giving you guys these videos. Number 4 on Kiper. Listen, I'm not surprised by it because there is a pretty big fall off around this point, I think, is Jamie Newman, who I think very much has boom or bust potential for this upcoming season. Now, he transferred from Wake Forest to Georgia, another dual threat caliber player. I wonder how he fits in with the Georgia offense that, as we saw with Jake Fromm, was not very willing to let those quarterbacks run and let the Justin Fields transferring. Now, the overall stats for Newman are pretty intriguing. He hit that 60% threshold, almost 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 180 carries, also pretty darn good on the ground. Now, there was, however, a significant drop-off for Jamie Newman, especially late in the year, particularly when star receiver Sage Surratt was not available. The last 4 games for Newman, he was bad through the air. Like, he just did not have much success. It was disappointing to see that out of Newman. And without Surratt, he only completed 54% of his passes, had more interceptions than touchdowns. That is concerning. Now, there are good receivers for Georgia, but I am curious how that will all fit together. Now, before we get to number 5, I hope everyone out there is staying safe. If you want to do that and rep your favorite NFL team in the process, head over to chatsports.com/stay. See that they've got individual face masks for your favorite teams and a 3-pack as well. That way, you can wash them and keep them clean and fresh. It's chatsports.com/stay safe, and I'll make your lives easier as well, because frankly, life isn't so easy at the current moment. I'll put that link in the comments and the description as well. Let's move on now to Tanner Morgan, the quarterback out of Minnesota, who is only a junior, despite what his hair might look like at the current moment. He had a breakout year this past season, benefited from Tyler Johnson and Rashad Bateman. We've mentioned Bateman before. He's awesome. He might be a first-round pick. But I think Morgan is the guy that maybe should have been 4. He was 4th in the nation last year in yards per pass attempt. He led Minnesota to a very impressive mark, 11 wins, and frankly, probably should have been 12 had Minnesota not relied too heavily on the run. If they let Morgan sling it, they had a lot of success last year. The completion percentage is impressive. There isn't a ton of volume for Morgan. 3,000 yards, still 4th in yards per attempt, indicates maybe they kind of dialed it back at times there. But when he was throwing, he was really good. So I like Tanner Morgan quite a bit. I don't have a great feel for who quarterback 4 should be right now. I think Morgan maybe should be a little ahead of Jamie Newman, though. Now, Kiper only did 5 prospects. I know, very disappointing, right? So which quarterback prospects did Mel disrespect? Because there should be at least 10 guys in the top 5. That's what everyone keeps telling me. So let me know in the comments section, and then we're going to break down some of those players that you might mention. So some of these other top prospects, we'll go a little bit quicker here, but I do want to mention a lot of other guys. A couple of Big 12 quarterbacks, Sam Ehlinger, Brock Purdy, and we'll go in-depth on each of these guys here. Kellen Mond, I know there's some hype for him. KJ Costello is now transferred to Mississippi State. The numbers should go up. And then Kyle Trask. I'm going to save him for last for a very particular reason, but he's the one I'm super intrigued by here. So we'll begin with Sam Ehlinger, who I think is that classic, really good college quarterback. Maybe not going to be the guy in the NFL. They use him a lot as a runner. He has success there. We've seen growth. That's important to me. I just wonder if the true accuracy and true arm strength is fully there to make Ehlinger work, but I think he's going to have a long career as an NFL backup given his leadership capabilities. Next up is Brock Purdy at Iowa State. Entering his 3rd year as a starter, the inconsistency is still very much there. Overall, you see some flashes. You absolutely do. Oklahoma, for example, he played very well in that game and outright outplayed Jalen Hurts, who of course went in round 2. Then he also struggled pretty badly against Kansas State and Notre Dame. So I think that's, understandable for a younger quarterback, but there is some upside worth watching this year. Now, who is the most overrated quarterback prospect in 2021? Executive producer Brett Scott thinks it's Brock Purdy. You guys let me know what you think in the comment section. Maybe it's one of those more heralded prospects like Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. If you want to throw in some fire takes in the comments, just let me know what you guys think. My vote, though, Kellen Mond. You've seen a little bit of growth in terms of the completion percentage, which only had room to go up because he was a 51% guy his freshman year. I understand some of the appeal around Kellen Mond, can move, strong arm, but he is just scattershot with his accuracy. It really comes and goes, and that, guys, is a significant red flag. That is something you have to be aware of if you're Kellen Mond, if you like Kellen Mond. The inconsistency isn't great. It ebbs, it flows. I need a big jump forward if I'm going to trust Kellen Mond in 2021. Let's go to KJ Costello now, who had a big regression in 2019, in part due to injury. The flashes in 2018, that big step forward, very much had him on the NFL radar, more or less at a transfer from Stanford. Now he goes to Mississippi State. The offense going to be much more quarterback friendly than maybe it was in terms of raw stat production. If Costello plays like he did in 2018, that might end up being a pretty decent sleeper prospect for the 2021 NFL Draft. And with that in mind, who is your top sleeper quarterback prospect? We have not gotten to mine yet. He's coming up here in just a second. But before we do, I want you guys to cast your votes in the comments section. How about Kyle Trask? I don't think it is fair whatsoever to ever expect another Joe Burrow type of player, the guy who goes, yeah, maybe he's a fourth-round pick, to number one quarterback, number one overall pick, wins the Heisman because he was just so incredibly good. But Trask could have that type of draft growth. He was actually pretty darn good as the starter for Florida last year. Felipe Franks was terrible. Trask played very well, which is kind of crazy because he wasn't even a starter back in high school. The offense was better. He's got good size, can move a little bit, played well against LSU in particular. I think he is definitely the more under-the-radar prospect to watch in the 2020 season, of course, for the 2021 NFL Draft. I also wanted to mention some other quarterbacks to watch that I'm not really in love with, but who knows? Maybe they show some growth. De'Aaron King is a fun athlete. We'll see how he is as a pure passer in the ACC. I don't love Ian Book. Shane Buechele, again, wasn't good enough to start at Texas because Ellinger was better, but he put up good numbers in that fun offense. Desmond Ritter's shown some flashes, but I don't think he's there yet. And I'm not really a full believer in Charlie Brewer, but he's, I think, the best draft prospect of that final group of five right there.